real boss.
Okay. Well, my name's Oscar, and I go by Odogg.
Or the odor.
I wrote a book. I had an aneurysm rupture in my brain stem when I was 10 years old. My book is about. You know what? Before I start getting into what the book's all about, I wrote something, and it's called Fifth Story Walk Up. And with the talents of other people that were in here, I recorded that with a friend of mine. Now I'm going to bring my friend up to do that song. Come on, Reddy. All right. You go.
I know that.
I'm really, really sorry, but the singer never showed up, so I'm going to sing it and he's going to play it. I'm sorry, you might want some toilet paper for your ears, and I understand.
Okay, Oscar, we've heard you sing.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Lay on the street, not enough to eat, but what I've got is what I need. Send it forward is what they say, to keep it you must give it away, black or white. More than one, and day by day would rise. His actions louder than words we say. Gratitude is black or white, no shades of gray. If you hear nothing, hear the words I say. At any time you can start a new day. Today I see a new way to get the life that they say, from not ever having enough to a fifth story walk up. It's time to make a change. It's time to go the right way. Gratitude is an action word that's learned, not just heard. Gratitude is black or white, no shades of gray. If you hear nothing, hear the words I say. At any time you can start a new day. Send it forward is what they say, to keep it you must give it away. More than one, and day by day, with actions louder than the words we say. humbly apologize about my voice.
They didn't need a singer to show up.
Okay, so now we're going to get to the main event, which is my book. It's called Against All Odds. And what it's about is I had an aneurysm rupture in my brainstem when I was 10 years old. And I've overcome my aneurysm, and I've overcome the adversities in my life because of my aneurysm. I was left with a lot of neurological damage that causes me to have troubles doing things such as maneuvering and fine motor control and stuff like that. And I wrote about that. And what I did was I wrote a little bit about that, and then a little bit about how I overcame that. But I'm also a spoken word artist. And as a spoken word artist, all my pieces are specially designated towards a tragedy that happened in my life. So what I do is I write a little bit about the tragedy, about how I got over it, and then I write a little bit about, I write the coinciding poem that goes with what happened in my life. Now I'm gonna read you a little bit from the book. Oh, actually, before I do that, let me explain a couple of things to you. One, my book is very thin. And the reason my book is very thin is because I have a message to deliver. And my message is that you can overcome all odds, no matter how difficult they may be. And it's a message that's specifically designated towards people that are trying to overcome the odds that I have went through, or similar odds. And so I wrote that because you can't expect somebody with attention deficit disorder to sit there and read a 100-page book and still get a message out of what they've read. They're going to read 5 pages, forget what they read, and they're going to give up. So I condensed my story and wrote only 28 pages for that purpose. I was born in Argentina, the capital of Buenos Aires. My parents were trying to come over to the States, but in order to get a visa, they need to have a child. So they did so. My sister, not to say that she was only born for that reason, but that was one of the reasons why they had a kid so early. They didn't realize that pregnancy was possible so close to having a child, so they had me. And to their dismay, I was a twin. So now they had 3 kids, all under the age of 1. So I finally came over here when I was 9 months old. When we moved to the States, we lived with my aunt. When I turned 4, my father got a job as superintendent at an apartment building, which enabled us to have our own apartment. So we picked up and moved again. My grandparents followed shortly in order to help, because my mom figured out that she had 3 infants to take care of, and she couldn't do that alone, being that my father was always working. Eventually, my parents saved enough money to buy a house in Edison, New Jersey. My grandparents stayed in the apartment. My grandfather got a job at McDonald's, as we were in school now, my mother got a job as a head secretary at a perfume manufacturing company. Being the fact that my mother was a translator in Argentina and in an import-export company, she advanced fairly quickly. My father began his own heating and air conditioning company. Therefore, he worked very long hours and was constantly on call. We were just the picture-perfect family. Since we all attended the same school, when school was over, we went to my grandmother's house, where she always had a fresh batch of chocolate chip cookies. Then tragedy struck and my grandfather passed away from a massive heart attack. I remember my father sending his helper to pick us up from school early that day, for my father was at home trying to console my mother. Life moved on and life began to get back to normal. We were 7 years old when my parents divorced. We lived with my mother but stayed with my father and his new girlfriend in Fort New Jersey on weekends. My father was the epitome of just because you're a weekend father does not mean that you need to be a weekend father. One day on my way to school, I became violently ill. So I was taken to the hospital where I was diagnosed with an inoperable brain aneurysm. My parents wanted a second opinion, so my parents drove me to Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, where the diagnosis was confirmed. I was checked into the hospital where my mother would not leave my side. The aneurysm finally ruptured and I was rushed into surgery where they were unable to locate it, so they closed me up and sent me back to my room. I began to become disoriented. Part of my disability. The aneurysm, they closed me up and sent me back to my room. They performed another craniotomy, which yet again was unsuccessful. Sent me back to my room and I became disoriented again. So they brought me back in for a third craniotomy, and the surgeon said to my parents, I'm going in and I'm not coming out until I find this aneurysm and repaired it. He went in, and 2 hours later, he came back out and he was able to find the aneurysm and cauterize the veins. So basically, I write about that, and then I write the coinciding poem, which for this is called Bomb in My Head. Why is this happening to me? What was my felony? I never committed a crime. I never caused a travesty. I didn't deserve this. Just trying to have fun, not a care in the world, just my mother's son. Head full of spaghetti curls, there's a bomb in my head. Why not just end it? This futility I'm force-fed. Don't want to live this way. Don't want to be part of this. Fear opening my eyes another day. My ignorance was truly my bliss. Everything happens for a reason is what they mention. One day you'll understand, it said. But I only have one question. Why, oh why, did he put a bomb in my head? I'll give you... When I was 16 years old, I was living in a home for people with disabilities. And one day my mother came up to visit me, and she told me that my stepfather died. And she didn't tell me why, but my brother ended up telling me why. And it happened that my stepbrother killed my stepfather. And I wrote a little bit about that. I wrote a little bit about how I got over it. And then I added the coinciding poem, this poem I wrote not from my view of things, but imagining what he must have been feeling when he went and stabbed my stepfather 17 times. Choosing a life of self. This is called tit for tat. Choosing a life of self. Make a wrong turn. Hurting others because of what I'm dealt. Never considering the scar or the burn. Tit for tat. Never what I did, it was him or her. My pain is your fault, so I'll make you suffer. And cover your wound with salt. Tit for tat. Maybe if you were a better father, I wouldn't have chose this route. So I'll make you pay. Now you listen to my shouts. One more act so you know I'm real. Because you took from me my peace. You surrendered my will. So now yours will cease. Tit for tat. Is it really a shock I turned out this way? Turned out the way I did? I took care of you, but I was the kid. What mattered to you was what was under the lid. So now you'll get what you deserve, and that's that. Tit for tat. And that's about how I imagine my stepbrother to have felt. Because otherwise I cannot see how you could do something like that. But let me tell you a little bit. So that's what my book is about. And I have now comes the ugly side of book selling. I have to actually tell you the price. The book is $12.50. You can get it here. It's more expensive if you don't get it here today. I also have an ebook that I can send you, and that's $9.95, which comes out to $10.62 with tax. And you give me your email address, and I send it to you after you pay me. But I'm actually working on a second book, and my whole purpose was not to write a book down. My purpose was to send a message out there to people that they can overcome against all odds. You know, even when things are looking their dimmest, there's a light that you can find and overcome it. And there's a talent that you can use to help others. You know, Mahatma Gandhi once said that if you truly want to find yourself, you need to lose yourself in the service of others. And that's what this is about. I'm working on a series of books to bring the message out to people. It's not about what I make. In fact, I'm not making anything like this. I'm barely reimbursing what I spend on it. But it's more important that the message get out there. So that's what this is about. Now, I really, really appreciate you guys coming out and listening to me. And I appreciate that that everybody's time is valuable. So making time out to come hear me is very flattering. And with that, I'm going to end it, and I'm going to say thank you, and that's it.
been working together on something.
Yes.
Are you going to perhaps do a duet of some sort?
We can do another one.
I guess.
Redmond and I I've been writing songs down and writing lyrics, and Redmond and I have been getting together and putting music to those lyrics. So, along with my thoughts.
Oh, it is?
So again, you have to bear with my singing. Being with me it ain't easy, but she does it every day. Moments like now, I wanna run away. Being with you would please me, but I got to stand my ground. You're more than I deserve. You need a king for your crown. Loving you would be easy, but it would be wrong. A king for your throne, a momentary offer, escaping to the unknown, a feeling too strong to deny. Moment of truth, cloaked in a lie. Don't want to do a seduction on the fly. Alone with my thoughts, or together with our don'ts. Someone it'll be a loss. I can't give her that cross. Alone quarter. Alone with my thoughts, together with our don'ts. Someone it'll be a loss. I can't give her that cross. Looking for a new life, but not that way. I won't be the one to twist that knot. Can't bear running her day. So hold on if it's meant, and we'll have what we want. Someday the lock will open, and thus that day will come. Alone with my thoughts, or together with our don'ts. To someone it'll be a loss. Can't give her that cross. I kind of wanted my singing to not be apparent in this video clip, but I guess Jesus doesn't give us what we want all the time. He just gives us what we're supposed to get.
I'm still going to buy the books. It didn't negatively impact Josh.
Okay, I appreciate that.
I think John and Paul started this way.
What?
John Lennon and Paul McCartney started this way.
Oh, they did? Okay, now I'm going to let you all get back to your lives. I really, really appreciate you coming out to hear me. And on your way out, make sure you pick up a book and I'll sign it for you. I'll sign it for you. And that's it. Thank you.
Hey!
What do you want? The book or the
No, the book.
Can't show the ebook
Is that right?
Wants me to work.
Sit.
Is that right?
No, you have to go to the section.
Oh,
Mr. Znoni. Mr. Znoni. Hello, Ian.
all right, good.
Give me the book.
What's up? Yeah.
No, that's good.
Right.
And I'll be right over there to sign autographs.
I think so. We'll go with it. What?
Hey.
If you get hit orange
Oh, you there?
No, where is halfway
Yeah. Sounded pretty good.
Yeah, make it work.
I was playing it. I was like, once you said that's music, I was like, I don't know about that. I sat down and you're like, chorus that was the Angry Trees, and I was
Yeah.
like, let's just go with it.
Oh, yeah. I hardly go on. I mean,
This is a real thing.
oh. Good, good. Not even. Oh, good. Yeah, I've been on that for a year and a half now. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I was, I've been a friend for a while. A year. A year and a month? Yeah.
Almost a year next month. Just got it a few weeks ago. I know. Trying to, get her
Fuck away.
fun stuff.
That Earl Penn German folk.
Hello.
It's like a party. Elizabeth.
Bad. Bad.
Maybe you're able to stand up.
Oh my goodness. I don't know. You're overwhelmed.
Bad.
I don't know.
Yeah, I see that. Like a
We still meet how we should meet. And I'm just like, great.
Friends here, or do you know some of the people that came here?
You.
Huh.
I didn't know we had a coming. Thank you very much. Our pleasure.
Nice bookstore.
That's good. It's from Café.
But it was the one for
That's
the
true.
baby.
But, right.
Give me more of those. Give me one where they sign up to the brown
So you want me to sign your wife?
I think so. Yeah. Good. You're good too. Yeah. Why? I see those as like little novels.
Oscar, congratulations.
Crazy.
Catch you again.
And I hey, you know when I give a phone my name with 2 Ks, even knowing when they are on Facebook, how it appears right there?
You want me to put Annie Joe?
He left the original sticker.
The other ones I actually bought from my mother.
I would like to buy that for my brother. He doesn't have a record player, but that's awesome. You want this, right?
Everybody's open to their own interpretation of it.
$5.
Yeah, right?
Alright, that's across, I can live with that. Right place at the right time.
He left the sticker on here because
There's one there's an
yes,
explanation.
I recommend the collectors when they collect these with the plastic, they like to have these.
Do you have a minimum?
No.
But you just add it on.
Yeah.
This would be a Christmas present or something.
So if you're
This
doing
is
your
the story my brother loves to tell is, and I have nothing against the
Also-
travel Brazil, I would do that too, but my brother and I were very young when this album came out, and my mom bought it for us, and there was a guy standing behind us.
The fact that you even have to add that insult.
And the guy said, look, this song that is explicit.
So where does your family live
Lyrics
now?
and stuff, you shouldn't buy that for kids. And she was like,
Absolutely.
you know, I don't think it's that bad, C-A-R, blah, blah, blah. And I said, no, but you know, you really shouldn't. It's got bad lyrics, and you're
So what did she say? Mind your own business.
yeah, she bought it, and she walked down and she no one's
Roy lives in South
and
Campbell.
that's how my brother's favorite stories.
And your mom.
This is mine, okay.
Twin Rock.
L-Y-N.
That is awesome.
O-L-Y.
And they were just inducted to the
Of course they would know.
Came back for a bit and then they disappeared again.
yes.
This doesn't make much sense.
Well, they, I think Axl Rose was, yeah, well, yes. And it was a terrible disaster. Well, everyone left him because he was so hard to deal with. The band, he was just like a real mean last year.
And now I gotta bring money with me to get on wallet. See you later this weekend.
Typical.
Good job.
Remember how he done
And we'll see you Tuesday though, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, let's-
People just haven't flat out.
Yep, you're running your own back.
Bad show. Car accident today.
Good job. Good job.
Oh, really? Okay. You mind?
Am I buying?
No, I said you mind.
Hey.
Oh, it's like, other way around, dude.
Well done.
Where would you like me to sign?
Anywhere. Anywhere you think is good. Yeah, the cover's good. Yeah, it's awesome.
We live in town and we, cool.
Thank you for coming.
Did you sign it already?
What a lovely
Ah,
Well, sign it to Elizabeth. Sign it to her.
This is your first reading, right?
That's your
What?
poetry.
what I do.
No, 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 no. It's fine.
I'm not going to do that. I'll give that to some.
Reading stuff somebody whose name starts with OC.
Yeah, I'll wait for Ocular to walk in.
Oh, I feel
Doc Octopus.
Yeah,
Dr.
Dr.
Octopus.
Octavius.
OG.
Yes.
the OG.
Yeah. Well, if you're ever going to the Olive Garden.
What was your name?
Just make it out to Elizabeth. Yeah.
It's your first reading.
That is a very, very unbelievable kid.
She's like, no.
She's like, wait a second.
That's hysterical. She's like, wait, what'd you say? It all means the same there. I know, just like. Bookstore.
Yeah, I know. It's the barn is local of Metuchen.
Metuchen is so much like Red Bank. Have you ever been to Red Bank?
Oh, is it really? I've driven through. I don't know.
I live Yeah, I live in Little Silver, which is right next to Red Bank in Monmouth County. Yeah, it's very nice. Yeah, and the back parking lot behind the store is very much like Red Bank. So it's almost the exact same landscape.
You live next to the boss.
Oh yeah.
Doesn't he have a house down there? Or something?
Yeah, I think he used to live in Rumson. pretty sure that he's in Coltsneck right now, which is about
Really?
45 minutes from me.
Somebody said I was out there. I used to hang out down there and
I even gave her a very special,
drive by his house.
special script.
This will be her memory.
That's where he lives.
Yeah, my cousin lives in Virginia, and he drove up here a long time ago. Gotta go to Bruce's house so we can take some gravel off of his driveway. So we're like, we accommodated him. We were like, sure, yeah, we'll go.
Yeah,
He went,
yeah, this is the house.
Oh, yeah,
You enjoy it.
It's right next door. You didn't know that?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So like,
Cool.
First read. Say bye-bye.
Thanks a lot.
Bye, sweetheart.
Bye.
She's like,
She doesn't do a full wave, but the
Bedtime.
fingers go.
I'll buy you guys.
learning.
Well,
Thanks.
you know what? When she
Cool.
drives, it's gonna be the same thing.
You can be like, okay, see you later.
You know, now it's not gonna be a full wave when
Yeah.
she passes
She's waving.
people. It's gonna be just.
Yeah, totally. Awesome. Yeah, nice meeting you. Keith.
Good meeting you.
Yeah,
Keith.
same here.
nice to meet
Take
you.
care.
I'm Ian.
Ian?
Nice to meet you.
Cool, thanks.
Thanks for being part of this. I didn't think I was gonna be the last one. Yeah, how about that?
Yes.
This is cool, man. Very cool. Glad I came.
You were this close to getting a mention in my book.
Really?
No, I'm kidding.
That would have been nice. I would have been flattered. But I don't think I've had that kind of impact on
Yes, you have. Yes, you have.
Well, thank you. That's flattering. I was just going to compare it, like I was saying, compare it to your parents or something.
Oh, compared to my parents, Gandhi hasn't had that kind of impact on me.
Just because I was looking over the acknowledgments and I know, you know, of course, it's family.
Yeah.
But not, that's flattering. As if you aren't mine, dude. Beyond, yeah, the impact you've had on my life? Hell yeah, man, are you kidding me?
Well, we all have an
Well-
impact on everybody's life, no matter how short the time is that we're around.
Absolutely.
Like, once I remember when I was like, I think I was like 17 or 18 years old, I was right here on Main Street, and I crossed the street and I forced this guy who was driving to slow down. And he, as I was crossing, he like gave me the finger and all that, cursed me out.
What's that
and
sound? Okay.
yeah, and he
Daddy, could you know we go with what? The big house?
And I used to do, they might do
Daddy?
printing.